Hello. Thank you for joining me here in my cozy little home. I would like to share things that inspire me and to give hope and share things that light me up and help I'd like to share about my life. I would like to share about things that light me up, things that make the quality of life more beautiful, more loving, more fulfilling. Natural things, healthy foods, good people, good company, that hygge feeling. This hygge word, and I don't even totally know if I'm saying it right, but it's Danish and it's a word that they use for explaining like really comfortable things. And I realized this, that when I first moved into this home that we live in now, I had certain plans. It was like, okay, we're going to do this, and then each month I'll spend this much and do this and that. And then so many things changed, and we ended up like doing different work, and so everything changed, and I didn't do things along that train of thought. And so I found that like I wanted guests to come, but then there was something inside of me that was like, well, everything's not ready. And so I didn't realize, but I had put this kind of barrier up that kept guests from coming. And this was before the pandemic began, like quite some time before the pandemic, like a year and a half or so before. And even though I was saying that I wanted guests, the guests were not coming. And then that got me to start thinking, okay, wait, what is this? What is the block here? And then I started to read about Feng Shui, which was something that I've never really studied. I had never really studied, but I've always intuitively been very attracted to interior decor and design and making things beautiful. And but in beginning to study it, I was like, oh, okay. So I took the Bagua map and I actually divided my home into the 9 sections. And I started looking at each section of the house and where it was placed. And the helpful people and travel area within my home was very sparse. I hadn't found anything to put on the wall there. I hadn't figured out what to do. It was just like I was constantly thinking about how I was going to make everything perfect later. Okay, when I get money, when I get this done, when I get that done, I will have it. I'll fix up the house, I'll do this. And I had made it beautiful, but there were just certain areas of the house that the energy was not flowing and it didn't feel good. So I began, actually it was in the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I don't know, there's something about having to stay home. Like, I love being at home. But when I'm told that I can't leave my home, that was really like, I felt trapped, I felt imprisoned, and that didn't feel good. So I used the moment I grounded myself through dancing, like turning on music and just putting on the headphones and dancing, and that really helped. But I also discovered that I had some little bits and pieces of things that I had been planning to do, these different art projects, and one of them was some fabric, some batik fabric, which after having lived in Indonesia for 17 years, I left Indonesia, I went back to the US and saw this batik fabric in a fabric store, these little square pieces, and I bought it. It was funny, it's like you live someplace that long and then you go somewhere else to buy something that comes from that place. It's kind of strange, but life. And then I never did anything with them, but I brought them with me to Turkey. And so during the beginning of the pandemic, I decided to cut them into pieces, and I made this like quilt, and a quilted piece of fabric that was like this big. And then I started to freehand embroider on it, and ended up making this like landscape with these mountains and a sun, and yeah, and it was just kind of going with the flow. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll hang this above my bed. And, you know, I don't know, we'll see. I have to put a border on it and different things. And I have to buy a stick, and where am I going to get a stick from? And then one day I walked out in my neighborhood. I was going someplace else, and my neighbor was trimming her bushes. And I was like, oh, if you have any like sort of straight branches, like, maybe you can save it for me. And she pulls one out, and it wasn't as straight as I wanted. And so I was like, but it had leaves on it. And I was like, oh, nice. Like, okay, yeah, let me take this. And I thought, well, if I don't find something else, at least this like piece of this living, it was still alive, you know, this branch I can bring in the house, and it can bring some nice energy. It was like having a new plant. And so I did that, and then the leaves dried out, and I cut the leaves off. And then one day I was like, you know what, let me just, but how am I going to hang this? Like, it's not straight, and different technical things, obstacles. And then I realized that in my hallway, which is the helpful people and travel area of my, of the Bagua map in my home, has a pipe. It's the natural gas pipe that goes through the hallway into the kitchen. And I realized if I hung this piece of wood like that, then I could maybe attach this wall hanging to it. And I just was trying it out, and it ended up being so pretty, and it's not even finished, but I put it there. And within a short period of time, like, we were suddenly traveling, and then when we got back from traveling, oh, it's been so wonderful. We've been having so many guests, and oh, it feels good. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually really, truly enjoying it. And it just happened. I was already on this trajectory, on this path of like discovering that everything in my life are things that I have consciously chosen to bring into my life, and I'm not holding on to things like I used to, and I'm also not holding this idea of everything being perfect, but more tuning into having this human experience which feels good, which has things that are imperfect. Like, for example, I just looked over here, right? I don't necessarily like books on top of books in this direction, like, but they didn't fit, and I didn't even think about it before I started filming, because I'm okay. Like, this is a human home, humans live here. With everything's not going to be perfect. It's clean. Maybe things are not exactly the things that I want, but I've found a place for them, and it feels cozy, and yeah, it's my nest. And when my friends come in, I used to think, what can I make? And I would overthink it, and then I would spend so much time trying to make it perfect that I wasn't enjoying it. And now it's just like, you know what? It's okay if it doesn't turn out. The important thing is that I enjoyed the process of it. I'm realizing that I don't want ready-made. I don't want fast. I want to experience life. I want to create art and make bread and jams and pickles and fire cider, and you know, any type of thing. Like, experiment, try it, you know. We live in a time where everything is so backwards, and I'm finding so much joy in experimenting and reinventing what I choose to bring alive in my life. I feel so much gratitude. Yeah, it all comes back to the way I look at things. So once I began to actually go, okay, you know, the saying, how they talk about looking at a glass. What happened? Suddenly, the light changed.